Today we're going to talk about perspective. So if you have heard of perspective before, that's great. If not, this will be great. And so perspective, at least in art, is basically the way we see things. That doesn't always mean it's the way they are, but it is the way we see things. So for example, picture you're sitting in a grassy meadow and there are tons of little flowers everywhere. Now, if you're holding a flower, it's probably about life size, about this big, but you're looking off in the distance and along really far away, they look like little tiny speckles. That's perspective. Now, those flowers aren't actually little tiny speckles, but they just look like that because they're far away. Or another example, maybe you're looking up at the sky and you see an airplane and it's so tiny and it's just like a little speck in the sky. Well, in real life, there's actually lots of people in that airplane and it's really, really big. Well, that's perspective. That's just the way we see things, and that's super important when it comes to art. So let's go ahead and practice some perspective. On your paper, you're going to use your ruler, and what we're going to do is we're going to make a few guidelines for our picture. Today we're going to do a landscape. A landscape is just a picture that's outside in the land, basically. So we're going to start off with the horizon line. So the horizon line is basically just the line where the sky meets the land. So if you're looking at the ocean, the horizon line is going to be really nice and straight, maybe a slight curve of the earth. But if you're looking at the mountains, the horizon line is going to be kind of bumpy like this. So it's basically just the line where the land meets the sky. Let's imagine we are maybe in like a prairie land or a meadow. We're going to do a straight horizon line today. So we're going to use our ruler as a straight line. So what I'm going to do, on my paper, I am going to make a line a little bit above the middle of the paper, and that's going to be my horizon line. Just like this. Just a straight line, that's all. Once you have your straight line, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put in an imaginary dot that kind of helps us when it comes to perspective. Now that dot is called the vanishing point. So I'm going to put my vanishing point right in the middle of my paper, like this. So basically, everything is going to get smaller and smaller as it gets closer to that point. That's a good way to remember it. All right, so now let's imagine that we are standing in the middle of a road. So let's go ahead and draw that road. I'm going to line up my ruler with the corner of my paper and the vanishing point. And I'm going to draw a straight line. I'll show you what it looks like. So all I did was I connected my vanishing point to the bottom corner of my paper. Let's do the other side. I'm going to line up my ruler again with the vanishing point and the edge of my paper. This is what it should look like. So right now we have a straight line, a little dot, and a big triangle in the middle of our paper. So if you can imagine, maybe we would be standing right here. This is the side of the road and this is the other side of the road. So maybe to change it from a triangle to a road, what we should probably do is add some road details. So this is what I like to do. I like to try to add in the like the yellow line that goes in the middle of the road. Now, this is another thing you need to remember with perspective, is that things that are close to you are nice and big, and they're going to slowly get smaller as they get further away or closer to the vanishing point. So for example, my lines in the middle of my road are going to be nice and big here, and then they're going to slowly get smaller and smaller and smaller until I can hardly even see them off into the distance. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so once you have those lines right in the middle of your road, it should look a little bit like this. So now if you look at my picture, you can see that the lines are nice and big, but as they get closer to the vanishing point, they get so small, I kind of just turn them into little lines. So that's what it should kind of look like. So now it looks a little bit more like a road, right? Let's move on to the next part. Just to make it look a little bit even more like a road, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add in a sidewalk. Now you're gonna do that by just really simply adding a few more lines. Again, I'm going to line up my vanishing point and my ruler to the edge of my paper and make a straight line, just like this. That's gonna be our sidewalk. Now let's do the other side. Vanishing point, ruler, edge of paper, and straight line. There we are. We've got 2 sidewalks. Now what I like to do to the sidewalks to make them look like sidewalks is add those little cracks in between. So remember the lines for the cracks are going to be nice and spaced apart all the way, until they kind of like, just like the lines, they start to get a little bit closer together to make the gaps a little bit smaller. So I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so here's a little tip before you get started on that next part on the sidewalk. So another thing I should mention is even though most lines point towards the vanishing point, once in a while we do get some lines that go sideways and upright. All of these lines are going to be sideways, so they're going to match your horizon line. So use that as a guideline. Okay, so once you have your sidewalk done, it should look a little bit like this. So what we have here, we have our lines that are nice and straight here, parallel with the horizon line. That means that they're not tilted like this or like that. They are straight. So we have them spaced nice and far apart here, and then they slowly get tinier and tinier and tinier as we get towards the vanishing point. So good job. Let's go ahead and let's add something else to our picture. So it's your drawing. You're allowed to add whatever you like as long as you follow the guidelines of the lesson. So perspective. So if you'd like to, you can picture, you could have your picture in the forest. You can have it in the desert. You can have it by the ocean. You can add whatever you'd like at the end. But for now, let's go ahead and add in a little structure here. I'm gonna start out with 2 lines. This might get a little bit tricky, but make sure that you just follow along with the video. I'm gonna have 2 lines here. I'm gonna draw the base first of our building. I'm gonna line up my ruler to my vanishing point and probably to where I want the bottom of the building to be. And I'm gonna want it to be under the horizon line. I'll show you what that looks like. So once you have your line here, you're gonna notice that I actually did not connect it all the way to the vanishing point. I have it kind of just floating here. It is still pointing at it though. So let's do the same thing, but above the horizon line. It's gonna look like this. I'm lining up my ruler to the vanishing point again, and I'm gonna try to just kind of eyeball where is directly above that line that I just made, like this. So you can kind of see how if you were to like kind of pinch it, it would point towards the vanishing point. Both of these lines would. Right now they look crooked, but it'll make a little bit more sense in the end. Let's go ahead and connect them. So I'm gonna use 2 lines going exactly straight up and down. So we don't want to tilt them like this or like this. We want them to be straight up and down. So if you have to do any erasing, that is totally fine. I think I am going to have to. Let me see. Yeah. Yep, I'm gonna have to erase, but that's okay. I like erasing. So it's gonna look like this. So I have kind of like a box right here, but I have these little parts here that are hanging off. I'm gonna erase those really quick. Just give it a little haircut. And there we have our box. Let's go ahead and make it 3D. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use 2 more lines. These ones are going to be exactly sideways. So lining up with the horizon line again. These ones I might just make go right off the paper. If you have more space, you don't have to do that, but I don't have a ton of space. So I made this corner go exactly off the side of the paper, exactly sideways, and same with the bottom corner. Now we kind of have a see-through box here, and we don't want it to be see-through forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase this line going through it. All right, so now you might be able to kind of see how this is a building here. Now it kind of looks like a 3D box, but let's add some details to make it look like a house or a building or whatever you'd like. Say you have it in a prairie land, you can turn it into a barn if you'd like. I think I'm going to turn mine into a house. So I'll probably end up adding in a door, some windows, maybe a mailbox. Come back and see what it looks like. Okay, so now our building, our box, should look a little bit more like a house. This is what mine looks like. So I added in windows, a door, a little bit of a roof, a mailbox, some curtains. Later on, you will get to color that as much as you like. Let's practice one more thing though before you get to color. Let's put in some trees. Now you can choose what kind of trees you'd like to do, or if you want to get really creative, you could do something other than trees. But we're going to practice another thing with perspective. So I'm going to make a life-size tree right next to my house. I'm going to do that just really quick. I'm going to make like an apple tree kind of thing. And looks like this. So that's a nice life-size tree. We can erase the horizon line going in the middle, but say I want to put a tree really, really, really far away. Now, if I put a tree this size all the way over here, that would look like a massive tree. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to make a super, super tiny tree. Now you can probably hardly even see it, but there it is. It's really, really, really small. But what if I wanted to put one in the middle ground or in between where we are standing and the vanishing point? Now that would be a little bit more like a medium-sized tree or like a broccoli or something. So I'm going to put another one over here. So that's what it should look like. So we have large, medium, and small, and you can do anything in between. If I wanted to put one right here, I'd probably put it somewhere, make it a size maybe a little bit in between this size and this one. Oh, there's Kitty. That's Lady. So what we're going to do is we're going to just erase this line going through the middle. You'll get to color, add in whatever you'd like, and you can come back and see mine finished. All right, so my picture is just about finished. I did not color mine in yet, but you are free to do that right after this. This is what mine looks like. So let's see, I added in some mountains, some clouds. I have some birds in the sky, and you can actually see how these ones look like they're closer because they're nice and big. And then they get kind of further away and they get smaller. So it kind of looks like they're flying toward us. Another thing I added in a little pond here with a little duck, some more trees and some reeds in the water. So no matter what you decided to do, I'm sure it looks amazing. Go ahead and color it in and you've got your picture for the day. Good job.